Have you ever felt the sting of rejection? The weight of failure pressing down on your shoulders? If you have, know this: you are not alone. These experiences do not define your worth, but are the very forge where character is built. Today, we will uncover the wisdom that turns rejection and failure into the stepping stones of resilience and inner strength. Lend me your ear, and I promise your time will be well spent. Rejection and failure, two words that echo with the thunder of life's hardships. But these trials are not to be feared. They are the crucible where true strength is born. The wise do not lament their misfortunes. They transform them into opportunities for growth. When we encounter rejection, it is not a verdict on our value, but a lesson in humility, patience, and perseverance. Imagine a sailor who curses the storm rather than mastering the art of navigation. Life's challenges are no different. By embracing our setbacks, we learn to steer our own ships through turbulent waters. Rejection offers clarity. It reveals our weaknesses and forces us to confront them. Failure, on the other hand, is the silent teacher that refines our efforts and hones our resolve. In the face of rejection, remain unmoved, like the mountain that stands firm against the howling winds. In the wake of failure, rise anew, like the dawn that follows the darkest night. For in these moments, our character is not diminished, but defined. Let us take these adversities not as curses, but as gifts. The road to wisdom is paved with the lessons of rejection and failure. Stand tall, knowing that each fall is a prelude to a rise. Each no you hear is a step closer to the yes that will change your life. Embrace the journey, and you will find that rejection and failure are not your enemies. They are your most faithful companions in the pursuit of greatness. Rejection is a mirror, not a judgment. It does not diminish your worth, but reflects something deeper. Perhaps a flaw to be refined, a lesson yet to be learned, or a misalignment between your desires and what is truly meant for you. To the untrained mind, rejection feels like a wound, an insult to one's very existence. But to the wise, it is a signal, a moment of clarity that forces one to pause and reassess. Why do you seek approval? Why does the denial of another shake the foundation of your being? Is it because you have placed your sense of self in external hands, hoping that the world will affirm what you should already know within? When a door is closed before you, the mind, untamed, rushes to despair. It assumes that all doors are closed, that opportunity has perished, that one's worth is now in question. But this is a fallacy, the whisper of a mind too eager to surrender. The wise, however, step back. They do not see rejection as an obstacle, but as an unveiling, a revelation of a deeper truth. Perhaps the rejection was necessary. Perhaps it was the very hand of fate guiding you away from something unworthy of your time, your energy, your essence. The one who clings to rejection as an injustice suffers twice, once in the moment of denial and again in the endless lamentation of what could have been. But to release attachment, to see rejection as neither punishment nor personal failure, is to liberate oneself from unnecessary suffering. There is wisdom in understanding that no rejection is final. There is always a path forward, though it may not be the one you originally envisioned. To resist this truth is to battle the nature of life itself. Failure, like rejection, is misunderstood by those who lack wisdom. It is seen as an enemy, a force to be feared, a shadow that looms over ambition. But in truth, failure is the greatest teacher, one that strips away illusion and forces the individual to confront reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. There is no shame in failure. The only disgrace is in refusing to learn from it. The unwise see failure as an end, but the wise understand that it is merely a step, a necessary phase in the refining process of one's character. To fail is to be given an unfiltered glimpse of one's limitations. It reveals weaknesses that pride may have hidden, illusions that hope may have nurtured, and expectations that reality may have crushed. Yet within this painful unveiling lies the seed of wisdom. The mind that welcomes failure as an instructor will grow stronger, for it will no longer flinch at hardship. Instead, it will dissect the failure, study its nature, and use its lessons to move forward with greater precision. Every failure is a map marking the points where effort was misplaced, where judgment was clouded, where patience was lacking. To ignore these lessons is to repeat mistakes. to walk blindly into the same pitfalls, to remain stagnant while others evolve. One who embraces failure with an open mind will find that each misstep refines their path. What once seemed like a setback becomes an essential part of the journey, a test of endurance and resolve. Just as fire purifies gold, failure purifies ambition. Those who have never failed have never truly strived, for success without struggle is empty, lacking the weight of true understanding. The mind left unchecked becomes a prisoner of emotions. It clings to outcomes, agonizes over rejection, and trembles at the thought of failure. Yet those who seek wisdom understand that the root of suffering lies not in events themselves, but in the weight we assign to them. To be ruled by emotions is to surrender one's peace to the whims of an unpredictable world. The wise do not allow rejection or failure to disturb their inner state, for they have learned the art of detachment, not from life itself, but from the need for control over things beyond their grasp. Consider the man who builds his identity upon the approval of others. When accepted, he feels elation, believing himself valuable. When rejected, he crumbles, believing himself worthless. But is his worth so fragile that it can be granted or taken away by another? The illusion here is clear. He has placed his sense of self in external hands, making himself vulnerable to forces outside his control. True strength does not come from seeking validation, nor does it come from avoiding failure. It comes from severing the chains of dependency on external events. To remain indifferent to praise and unaffected by criticism is not arrogance, it is freedom. Emotions are like waves, rising and falling with each encounter of success or setback. The unwise are like small boats, tossed endlessly by the tides, desperate for calm waters that may never come. But the wise are like the deep ocean itself, unshaken, unmoved, at peace no matter the storm above. They do not reject emotions, but they do not become enslaved by them. When one learns to observe emotions without attachment, they become a master of themselves, rather than a servant to fleeting feelings. The world is filled with those who exhaust themselves chasing what they cannot control. They lament rejection, fearing it as a personal failure. They curse misfortune, believing it to be unjust. But this is the path of the unwise, for they place their energy in the hands of fate, hoping to bend the universe to their will. The wise, however, walk a different path. They do not waste effort on the uncontrollable. Instead, they turn inward, refining what is within their power, their thoughts, their actions, their responses. This is the only true mastery, for everything else is but dust in the wind, shifting beyond one's grasp. A man who seeks control over the external world will forever be at war with reality. He will agonize over how others perceive him, fear failure as though it were death, and live in constant unease, for he has given his peace away to things outside his dominion. But the one who understands the limits of control does not waste himself in such futile struggles. He focuses instead on what belongs to him, his discipline, his character, his ability to persist despite adversity. In doing so, he frees himself from unnecessary suffering. Consider the archer. He can train his aim, strengthen his grip, and steady his breath, but once the arrow is loosed, its path is no longer his to command. If the wind changes, if the target shifts, if chance intervenes, he cannot control these things. The fool curses the wind, believing it has wronged him. The wise archer, however, does not lament what is beyond his power. He simply prepares, aims again, and releases. This is the essence of peace. Not the illusion of control over fate, but the mastery of oneself in the face of it. The world praises victory and shuns defeat. It celebrates the triumphant, but seldom acknowledges the struggle that forged them. Yet, those who understand the nature of life do not measure success in fleeting accomplishments, but in the endurance cultivated along the way. Strength is not found in never falling. It is found in the ability to rise each time one is knocked down. The unwise chase results, desperate for validation, fearing failure as though it were the end of their journey. But the wise embrace struggle, knowing that resilience outweighs any momentary triumph. For what is a victory without the hardship that precedes it? What is success without the scars of perseverance? The mind that fixates on results will forever be tormented. It will anxiously measure each effort, questioning whether it has borne fruit. It will see failure as wasted effort and struggle as a sign of inadequacy. But the one who values resilience over outcomes understands that the process itself is the true battleground. Every setback is a lesson, every hardship a refining force, every rejection a test of inner fortitude. The wise do not demand immediate rewards. They train themselves to withstand difficulty, to endure disappointment, to persist where others falter. The tree that survives the storm is not the one that resists the wind, but the one that bends without breaking. So too must the mind be flexible, unyielding in principle, but adaptable in practice. Those who are weak crumble at the first sign of difficulty, retreating into despair. But those who cultivate resilience stand firm not because they do not suffer, but because they have learned to bear suffering without letting it break them. The true measure of a person is not how they succeed, but how they withstand failure without losing their resolve. Rejection is often mistaken for a dead end, a finality that signals the end of a pursuit. But this is an illusion, a trick played by the impatient mind that believes a single obstacle negates an entire journey. The wise understand that rejection is not a conclusion, but a redirection. Every closed door, every denied opportunity, every failure to achieve what one desires is not an indictment of one's worth, but a test of one's endurance. The one who seeks wisdom does not despair at rejection, nor do they beg for acceptance. Instead, they recognize that rejection is merely a path that was never meant to be walked, and so they continue forward undeterred. The fool in his desperation sees rejection as proof that he is not good enough, that he must either shrink himself to fit another's expectations or abandon his course altogether. He internalizes the refusal, allowing it to corrode his confidence, to convince him that further effort is futile. But rejection is not a reflection of one's value. It is simply the world saying, not here, not now, not this way. The wise do not shrink in the face of rejection. They listen, they adjust, and they persist. They do not waste energy lamenting what has been denied. They use that energy to refine themselves, to seek new paths, to strengthen their resolve. The river does not stop when it meets a boulder. It flows around it, over it, or in time, wears it down. So too must the mind be fluid, unshaken by rejection, seeing each closed door as an invitation to seek another. The weak see rejection as an end. The strong see it as the beginning of something greater, a lesson that the right path is still ahead, waiting to be found. Carry these principles as a shield against the trials of life. Remember, adversity is the grindstone upon which the blade of character is sharpened. Let rejection and failure shape you into a person of unyielding resolve and quiet strength.